Okay, good afternoon, everybody, or late good morning. I'm Joe Murphy. I'm the interim U.S. Attorney here in Memphis for the Western District of Tennessee. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for coming. We've got several representatives from both local and federal law enforcement here today. Today we're going to talk about violent crime issues in Memphis. And I want to start out by saying everybody has seen the newspaper and radio and television reports about the spike in violent crime and the number of shootings in Memphis during the past several weeks. Our office is working with our local and federal law enforcement partners, and I want to emphasize these men and women, they're our partners. We're working together to solve this problem, to address the issue of violent crime today. I'm joined by, and I'm going to start down here. Well, we got it messed up. Marcus Young, he is chief of our office's gun and violent crime units. Next to him is Marshal Miller. He's the United States Marshal for the Western District of Tennessee. He's going to be speaking today. Next to him is Jeremy Baker. He is the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI office here. Next to Mr. Baker is Darren Goods. He is the Public Safety Advisor for the City of Memphis. Over here next to me is Chief Davis, Chief of the Memphis Police Department. Next to Chief Davis is Todd Stankiewicz. He is the Special Agent in charge of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives in Tennessee. Next to him is Todd Ryan. He is the ASAC, and he is over the Memphis area. And then we have Chief Deputy Anthony Buckner from the Shelby County Sheriff's Department. And several of them are going to speak to you today. Now, I want to say this when we start out. Everybody up here, all these folks, all those men and women seated out there, they're concerned about violent crime in Memphis. And everybody up here and in here is dedicated to working together to reduce violent crime. Our office, the United States Attorney's Office, has a long history of working with federal and local law enforcement and MPD and the Shelby County Sheriff's Department, as well as ATF and the FBI, to reduce violent crime. We have a history of successfully prosecuting individuals who violate federal gun laws, who commit violent crimes using firearms, and who commit carjackings. These efforts these are some of the examples of organized, focused efforts we've engaged in to address this problem. Federal prosecutions offer unique advantages in terms of reducing violent crime. Federal law permits courts to detain subjects who are determined to be a danger to the community, to hold them without bond. The statutes carry heavy penalties, and the sentences they receive, they're not subject to parole. So if you get a 5-year sentence, you do 85% of that under federal law. And when they get out, these defendants are subject to another 1 to 5 years of court supervision where probation officers keep up with them. Federal penalties, again, can be substantial. Illegal possession of a firearm, which would be by somebody, say, that was a convicted felon, they're looking at up to 15 years. If they're what we call an armed career criminal, they could be looking at a mandatory minimum of 15 years in federal prison. We will continue our partnership with MPD and the Shelby County Sheriff's Office and our federal law enforcement partners to reduce violent crime. Currently, our prosecutors in our office, the state prosecutors from the state DA's office, and investigators from the PSN task force meet once a week, and we go over every case where a gun has been seized or a gun was used, and we basically go through and pick out cases for federal prosecution. We also meet with MPD's Violent Crime Unit to go over the carjacking cases. We do that on a monthly basis. The purpose of these meetings, again, is to identify cases for federal prosecution. And a good example of our efforts was last week, the grand jury returned indictments on 7 defendants for illegal firearms possession. Currently, 6 of those defendants are in custody, state and federal custody. Now, going back to this spate of shootings, I read, I think it was Channel 5 had an article, 36 shootings in 2 weeks, 12 people died. I want to say this, my office is going to review every case that is brought to us that comes out of those shootings. So those will all be subject to review. If we can make a federal case, those defendants will be prosecuted in federal court. And again, subject to those penalties, possibly being detained without bond, and supervision once they're out. Now, we're attempting to do everything we can to improve this process. Our office has had prosecutors who are going to be assigned to 1 of 3 precincts, and they will meet regularly with the officers at that precinct. The goal there is to flag cases, to push them through the system. We get earlier notice, and we think it's going to make for better, more efficient prosecutions. The 3 stations will be Austin P, North Main, and Crump stations. This is going to enable us to prioritize cases where a suspect who is prohibited by federal law from possessing a firearm has shot somebody or used a firearm during violation of federal law. Robberies of businesses are a violation. We're going to be looking for those cases. We're going to flag them early, and we're going to jump on them as soon as we can. Here's the bottom line. If you shoot someone and you're a prohibited person from possessing a firearm, or you use a firearm to commit a violation of federal law, and we can make a case, you're going to be prosecuted federally. And everybody up here is committed to that. That's our commitment to the citizens of the Western District of Tennessee, and we're going to do everything we can to see that that commitment is carried out. And Chief Davis, do you have anything to say?
I do. Thank you. Thank you, and good morning, almost afternoon. First, I want to thank U.S. Attorney Joe Murphy for having me here today to speak on behalf of the men and women of the Memphis Police Department. I also want to acknowledge the concern in our community and the feelings that are expressed every time we see gun violence on our news stations. We hear you and we share your concern in the urgency to build a stronger, safer Memphis. We have to do this together. Violent criminals are on our radar. They are on our radar and in our attention. We know that partnerships are essential to getting violent offenders off of our streets. No single agency can do this alone. Not any single agency that's represented here today, neither can the Memphis Police Department. That's why every single day our officers are utilizing significant resources to support our federal partners. Just as Attorney Murphy just mentioned, we're doing everything in our power to ensure that cases that meet the federal criteria are taken federally. We believe that punishments should be commensurate to the violent crimes that we see. Each week, we meet with both federal and state prosecutors to review every gun case that we receive. Anytime a Memphis police officer encounters a firearm, we evaluate whether that case can and should be prosecuted federally. Every time we engage with an offender, a violent offender, we will explore every possible avenue to pursue federal prosecution. We're deeply engaged in a number of federal initiatives today, such as Project Safe Neighborhood, which we just spoke about earlier. Additionally, we have officers assigned to full-time to the FBI's Safe Streets Task Force, where they focus on violent business robberies. We're also embedded in the Cargo Theft Task Force, which investigates thefts affecting interstate commerce, which is a federal crime. We also have officers engaged in other task forces that are represented here today, and you may hear more about them as well. This partnership, it's symbolic for us. It's daily, it's focused, and it is growing. We remain committed to putting even more resources into these federal efforts to ensure that Memphis continues to be a safe and stronger city. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Marshall Miller.
Good afternoon. You're going to hear several times today about partnerships, and I want you to see the image that's before you today of a unified front of local law enforcement from the Shelby County Sheriff's Office, Memphis Police Department, as well as federal law enforcement agencies. And even though we make work for different agencies, we all have the same common thing, the same common effort of safety for the community. Every day, the U.S. Marshal Service works to remove dangerous offenders from the streets. And I think we have a proven track record of doing so. And that track record has worked here in Memphis. We have a fugitive task force that is made up of not only deputy U.S. Marshals, but Memphis police officers, Shelby County Sheriff's deputies, Fayette County Sheriff's deputies, Tipton County, Tennessee Department of Correction, Tennessee Highway Patrol. Because what happens in Memphis also affects not only the city limits of Memphis and the rural communities of Shelby County, but as well as the regional area, all the way up to Jackson. And so even though the Western District of Tennessee consists of 22 counties, we already dedicate 60% of our resources right here in Shelby County. Every day, our task force is working with MPD in Shelby County. We're asking them for a list. Hey, tell us who you want. We want to go get them. We're adopting those state warrants. We're finding them right here in Memphis. Sometimes we find them in a neighboring state. We find them on the East Coast, West Coast, and everywhere in between. And we can pick up the phone and reach out to one of our 94 offices across this country, and we're going to find them. So we want to send a message that we recognize the uptick in violence here in Memphis. We're tired of it. We're going to do something about it. We know the community's tired of it. We're tired of it. And it's time to put an end to it. And so I'm glad to be here to represent the U.S. Marshal Service and also just let the community know that we stand with our partners from the Memphis Police Department and U.S. Attorney's Office. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall Miller. Next, we're going to hear from Jason Stankiewicz with ATF.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Murphy. Good morning. My name is Jason Stankiewicz. I am the Special Agent in charge of the ATF Nashville Field Division. And I also stand here today to reaffirm ATF's commitment to working closely with our local, state, and federal partners to reduce violent crime in Memphis and to remove illegal firearms from the streets, as well as the violent offenders that we've discussed here this morning. ATF takes a collaborative, all-hands approach and an all-hands-on-deck mission to achieve this common goal. We stand in unison with our law enforcement partners and with you, the community. The ATF will remain in lockstep with the Memphis Police Department and the United States Attorney's Office, as well as our other federal partners, including the FBI and Shelby County Sheriff's Office. We will also use crime gun intelligence in every investigative tool that ATF has to reduce violent crime in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Chief Deputy Anthony Buckner from the Shelby County Sheriff's Department.
Thank you and good morning. First, to U.S. Attorney Joe Murphy, I just want to thank you publicly for your partnership and your friendship. I had the pleasure of sitting with you a couple of weeks ago on your tour to meet with law enforcement leaders, and I was encouraged after you reaffirmed your desire to adopt more cases, and I'm inspired as I stand here today to hear what that looks like. And so what I'll say to the viewing public is simple. For those of you who hear the message today, in terms of the partnerships between all of the federal and local agencies, I want you to hear this and be clear. There is a desire to put thugs in jail who are wreaking havoc on our community. That's our desire. But we also desire for those of you who are contemplating on the next crime to make a wise choice. There are a number of nonprofit organizations that are surrounding our city and county who are waiting and willing to help you turn away from a life of crime, who are willing to help you get connected with a job, who's willing to help you earn a high school diploma or GED. But if you so choose to disregard all of those services that are available to you, then the people that stand behind me are coming up with strategies right now to move heaven and earth to put you in jail. And if jail is not far enough, then federal prison or state prison. So let this be a warning. We are tired as law enforcement leaders, as government officials, of this behavior in our community, and we are not going to tolerate it. So I will advise you, find the right nonprofit organization that will help you turn from your wicked ways. And if not, then we'll find the right program to put you in jail.
Thanks, Chief Buckner. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Could you just explain a little bit more about how you all plan to reduce the violence, what this means for the community, the public, what can they expect to see, the changes they can expect to see?
Sure. Well, most of the changes will be down in court and in these meetings where we pick cases up. But what we're going to do is we've already got a system in place. We are convinced that it for the most part it works, and we're going to try and tweak it and devote more resources to doing violent crimes and gun crimes. Hopefully what the public sees is we can get people off the street. And people might say, well, what if you get 20 guys off the street, what difference is that going to make? I think you'll find, if you study the issue of crime, 80% of the crime in a lot of cases is committed by a much smaller fraction, like maybe 20% of the crime. If somebody's being detained or they're being sent to federal prison and they don't have an opportunity to get out earlier, they can't be on the streets victimizing people. So I think, we're going to try and basically make the good work we're done that much better, that much more efficient, and we're going to try and move the cases along quicker. So I think it'll work, and I think we've got the kind of presence here that shows you that people are dedicated to getting the job done. So any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just wondering, what makes this approach different than what's been done before, and how soon do you think it'll really make a difference when it comes to reducing violence?
Sure. Well, I think one thing that's different, I don't think we went out and to the precincts before, and so we're going to get involved in picking the cases up earlier. The other thing we're going to do, we're going to put a priority on cases where you've got a shooter. So somebody shoots, they're going to the head of the line, okay? And again, in federal court, there's a good chance a shooter will get detained. They're looking at substantially longer prison time. So I think, we're going to devote more resources, and we're going to find better ways of doing it. But I think one of the first things you can do is go out to the precincts and identify those cases that involve violent individuals and move them to the head of the line. Okay.
How did you select
select the three precincts that will have prosecutors embedded with them?
We talked to the police department, and that was based on their suggestion. And so their precincts were, my understanding is high rates of violent crime. And again, that was done by people on the ground, which I think is important. Yes, ma'am.
Could you also speak to most of, most if not a good chunk of a lot of the crimes being committed involve minors? Like, what is going to be your approach as involving a lot of minor involved crimes?
Well, here's the situation. Under federal law, we're very limited in terms of the minors we can prosecute. That's not something that federally I can address because I have a very limited, and my office has a very limited avenue to do that, okay? So basically, most juvenile crimes are handled at the state level. Okay, any other questions? This is the quietest bunch of reporters I've ever seen. Well, listen, thank you for coming. I think these guys will stay around if you want to talk to them, and you're welcome to do it. And you know, we're going to get after it. It's like anything. I remember when I first got married, my wife told me we needed to buy a house, and I didn't realize I was spending too much money, you know, going to football games and playing golf and all those other things. So, you know, anytime you concentrate on something and you focus on it, right, you get better results, don't you? And that's what we're gonna do. So, thank you for coming today.